5 years ago, if you were to ask me if I'd ever wear a wristwatch, absolutely zero chance. Why would I? I've got my phone. It always tells the time. Why would I want to wear one? It feels weird. Tell you what, now you rarely find me without one, and I'll tell you why here in a bit. It's probably not why you think. But first, look at this boy. What's he got on? You watch aficionados. Can you tell what's on his wrist? So Zuckerberg was like me. Watch this clip. He says he never, ever wanted to wear a watch. Listen to what he says here.
So cool.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so
You know,
cool.
I never really wanted to get a watch.
Even his wife talks over him. That's pleasant. He's awkward, but it's rough when your wife talks over you. Listen, he starts to go into a story about watches, and she immediately, who makes that? She heard him talking. That's tough. When your wife doesn't let you talk.
You know, I never really wanted to get
That's
a watch.
rude.
But after seeing that, I was like, you know, watches are cool.
I might want that.
She still doesn't even look at him when he talks. So she cuts him off. This is not what the video is about, but I'm just seeing this. This is pretty rough. So his wife talks over him, and then just to let her know he's talking, he looks directly at her, and she doesn't even acknowledge he's alive.
After seeing that, I was like, you know, watches
Look at
are
that.
cool.
Doesn't even glance at his eyes. Hey, if you want to dive deeper into this interaction between Zuckerberg and his wife, I just launched another channel where I go a lot deeper into the actual social nuance. Some people really like to geek out about the little tiny things you could do to be better in a situation, better not. A lot of people just like high level like this video. But if you do want to go deeper into that, I'll put a link up here in the top corner and down in the description below. It's a new channel where I take questions from users, and somebody asked about this specifically with his girlfriend that was talking over him, and I loop this in and go deeper in depth. So you can click right there if you want to check that out. But then he says, I saw that, it's kind of cool. And at this event, I think he had on this cool like Richard Mille watch, which is pretty epic. This guy also, you can actually see here, I stopped it right on the frame, has a Richard Mille as well. So now today on Instagram, he's got a Patek Philippe. This is the actual watch that he's got. It's a Grand Complications, you can see here on their website. And the pictures are awesome. It's an amazing watch. And by the way, if you're not into watches, these main brands like Patek, Audemars Piguet, even some Rolexes, you can't get them in the shop. There's such a demand. There's a wait list. And Patek had such a long wait list for a lot of the models that were really desirable, the Nautilus and some things like this. It was like 8 years, and they just completely stopped taking these. And these are not cheap watches. But do you see the pictures of this? You know, nice imagery. What don't you see? On request. So we go over to Chrono 24, about $116,000 if you want to pick one of these watches up. So why do they have him? Because you know everything he's doing is being at least run by his publicist or his stylist, okay? I've got a video of him here when he first started wearing the gold chain everywhere. Look at this stuff.
There are just billions of different models out there.
So not one God, but many? Is that the way to think about it?
Well, I don't think they're going to be gods, but
So they've styled him down. They want him to be relatable, right? They want him to be someone that people, young kids, men aspire to be. And a watch is one way to do that, because ever since COVID, the demand and interest in men's watches is just unbelievable. It used to be old fuddy-duddies, and now it's every musician, every celebrity, every actor, a lot of politicians are flexing fancy watches and things like that. So they want him to be relatable. But why else do you think he might be wearing one? Why do I wear a watch now? It's probably not what you think. Why do you think? The main reason is when I was younger, if you wanted to start a conversation with another man, say you're at a bar or restaurant, you're waiting for something, trying to kill some time, or you just want to strike up a conversation for whatever reason, what was the only way, basically, that people did it? You talk about sports. You know, the old one, you see the Yankees game last night? You know, that still works to a point, but sports are not nearly as big, especially baseball, as they used to be. UFC is a little bigger and some other sports, but they're still very niche. And so some people haven't seen the tennis game, the tennis match. Clearly, I haven't seen the tennis game, the tennis match, or the basketball game, or the UFC fight. But if someone is wearing a watch, especially a watch that takes a little discernment to pick out, you can always talk to them about that. I was actually at a bar the other day, and there was a guy wearing I was waiting for somebody. He was wearing a Richard Mille, and it had a rubber strap. And so I was actually curious, and I just said, hey man, how do you like that rubber strap on that compared to like a metal strap? Right into a conversation, and also shows that you both know and have a little bit of interest about watches. So it's just something that you can wear that gives other people the opportunity to strike up a conversation with you. And then also when you strike up a conversation with him, because if I would have brought that up and I wasn't wearing a watch, it still would have worked. but it wouldn't be as good as if I have an interesting watch. Oh yeah, I see you're wearing that. What's the story behind that? Where'd you get that? How do you like wearing that? It's just a real cheat code for starting a conversation. And if you're on the dating scene, some women like to see a man who thinks enough about their outfit to wear a watch and to put some thought into that. But also, if she wants to come up and talk to you, it's just a reason. What can she say? Hey, nice shirt, buddy. No. Hey, I saw that watch. I love the metal on that watch. That rose gold is great, or something like that. It basically gives people a reason to come and talk to you if they want to. Now, obviously, if they don't want to and you're not an interesting person, it's not going to get someone to come over, except for it's like a real watch geek. And that's probably not somebody that you want to talk to who's just interested in the watch, but maybe so. And one of the things I want to point out that I'll leave you with is a lot of people who aren't into watches think it's just about the money and it's a wealth flex, because it does seem like people tend to progress up. They start with a lower cost watch, and as they make a little bit more money and they age in life and have more resources, they buy a nicer watch. They kind of level up. But listen, like this is an example of a watch that I just got because, man, let's see if I get it to focus on that. maybe if I get out of the shot. So, dude, this watch looks great. It's an automatic. It's got an automatic movement, which just means that it winds on its own. Like when you're wearing it, the motion of your wrist actually winds it. Great looking watch. With everything going on, I was just in London a couple weeks ago. I don't even want to wear any kind of watch that is worth, this thing, I think it's like $150, because people are getting robbed like crazy. It's unbelievable. You don't even need a watch that's ridiculously expensive to get the attention. I just don't want the attention. But still wearing a watch, that's still enough that I could start a conversation with somebody. Maybe somebody sees that and starts a conversation. It's still enough to do it. So if you're just getting started out or don't have a bunch of dough, don't feel bad about wearing a cheap watch, because a lot of people you see have a more expensive one. That's not what it's about at all. And I have a feeling once you start wearing a watch, you're really going to be surprised about the conversations that it gets you in. And oftentimes starting conversations is one of the hardest things that you can do socially. Once your foot's in the door, it's easy to maneuver. Now, what's your grail watch? If you're a watch guy, if you could only have one watch, a one watch collection, let me know in the comments below what it is, and I'll leave my thoughts. Talk to you soon.